Good evening. We're going to get started. Welcome to the meeting of the City of South Jordan Planning Commission for Tuesday, May 26, 2026. We have all 5 appointed commissioners in attendance. So thank you all for being here, and members of city staff representing the Recorder's Office, Planning Department, Attorney's Office, Engineering, GIS, and IT. So thank you all for being here this evening. If you're online, thank you for joining us virtually as well. Okay, so we've welcomed everyone. We had our agenda this evening. I've been told of no changes. Any changes that you all would like to have made? If not, open to a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as published this evening.
And I will second that. We have a motion by Commissioner Hollis, a second by Commissioner Gedge. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes 5 in favor. Item C1 is the minutes from our April 28th, 2026 meeting. For those listening in, we did not have a meeting on May 26 minus 14th, 12th, I believe, May 12th. And I want to thank Commissioner Hollis for covering for both Mr. Farnsworth and myself, and for the rest of you for letting us have a quorum. Thank you for staff for putting together the minutes. I went through them. They look very eventful meeting. Any changes to the minutes?
I have one incredibly minor one that it may not even need changed. My name is misspelled 2 times on the first page, my first name. I don't know if that's important or not.
Okay. Any other changes, additions, deletions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from April 28th, 2026.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollis, a second by Commissioner Harding. Discussion to the motion. I will be abstaining just because I was not in attendance.
And I will do the same.
Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that motion will pass 3 in favor with 2 abstentions. All right, takes us to section D, our staff business. I will look to commission left, audience right. So start with Mr. Priest and Mr. Schindler, Mr. Simonson. Anything from the cheap seats?
You naughty people that haven't done your HR stuff. I got another notice today.
We won't call out specific commissioners, but they're fun. The British No Before videos are quite eventful.
Yeah, they were fun.
So please do that, because I would hate for us to go down an additional commissioner because you're removed for not doing your training. All right. Anything else? Mr. Nelson, Mr. Aguilera, Mr. Jarman? Okay. Section E, comments from Planning Commission members. Mr. Gamble.
Just a quick comment. A few meetings back, I mentioned the software we use for our website and the municipal code. And I asked if we were using the latest version, and we had a back and forth. I since found out that there are 2 different editions, one that's a cloud-hosted one that's self-hosted, and the one that's self-hosted, and that you can have your own people write the code, is what we're on. And so it's just a different offering. So
Great, thanks for looking at that and giving us that update. Anything else from commission members? While I ask, our next meeting is the 2nd Tuesday in June. I believe that is the 8th. Oh, sorry, the 9th, June 9th. We'll all be in attendance. We'll ask later if there will be a meeting. But any may be absent for June 9th, tentatively?
Possibly.
Okay. So hopefully we'll have a quorum with the other 4 of us, and we'll get an update hopefully at the later meeting if there'll be a 6th member of the commission. Probably they would have given that to me in staff updates, but okay. We have no items under section F, summary action, or section G, our action items. So that will get us into section H, our administrative public hearings. Administrative public hearing items is where we, the commission, are the final body for those types of applications before us. We have 1 under the administrative public hearing items. Before we get through this, just to be consistent with our other meetings, our process is the staff report was published as part of the public noticing. We will invite staff to come forward on the item and give us a summary of that report, any information they want to share. Following that, the commission may ask staff questions that they may have at this point. Following that, we will invite the applicant to come forward and give any additional testimony that they would like to give as it's their application. And the commission may ask the applicant questions at that point. And following that, we will open the next portion of the meeting to the general public to give any testimony on the item. It is not a give and take, so you give your testimony to the commission. You have up to 3 minutes. We ask that you give us your name and address for the public record. Following all public comment, the commission have been taking notes, and then we will address any concerns that were raised during public comment, following which we will have a discussion leading to a motion. Did I miss anything with our overview? Okay, so we have one administrative public item, H1, which is the Vendendal, sorry, I apologize if I mispronounced that, detached shop conditional use permit for property located at 11739 South, 1220 West. The applicant is Chip Galloway, and Mr. Aguilera will be presenting us this item this evening. Miguel, the time is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. So this is a conditional use permit for a detached accessory structure. It's going to be a garage and also a shop. This is the location map. It borders Riverton on the south side. The zoning is single-family residential, R1.8. And everybody lit up in green on this screen was noticed, including residents on the Riverton side for this conditional use permit. So their proposed site plan, and this, so the left is north, the right is south. So the home faces to the west, and this is going to be placed back. The detached garage is going to be placed on the back side of the property, facing the house. It's going to be approximately 12 feet away from, 12 feet away from all the property lines. Because of its height, it has to be 12 feet away. It's going to be at 25 feet, which is the maximum height allowed for detached structures. And that height is on the north side, which would be its left elevation, which I can show here, because the grade of the property shifts from one side to the other side. So the taller side is going to be on the left elevation at 25 feet high, and the other side is going to be 18 feet tall, which would be the interior of the property. So the purpose of this conditional use permit is the home is a one-story house. It's hard to gauge the height of the exact height of the building. Based on the imagery I saw from Google Street View, it's approximately 16 to 18 feet tall. So this would exceed the height of that home. And so for that reason, the applicant is requesting that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aguilera. Questions for staff? I'll look at my right. Mr. Catmull or Mr. Farnsworth?
Well, actually, one question. Miguel, on this lot, there is, I assume, the private road. I can't remember, 1220 or.
Yes, there is.
So, or the 1220 West, that's a private road, and so I don't think I've ever seen where the road goes, like bisects what might be the front yard. I know that's not like a huge issue here, but I just want to make sure I'm orienting my right, like, so the front yard still goes all the way to the front of the property.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Technically, yes. The home does sit behind or to the west or the east side of that private road.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Mr. Farnsworth, Ms. Harding, Ms. Holst? Okay, thank you, Miguel.
Thank you.
At this point, we'd like to invite the applicant to come forward. So Mr. Galloway or another representative from the applicant come forward. Just come to the microphone, give us your name, and add any additional to the staff report and Miguel's presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Chip Galloway, and I think Miguel did a great job of kind of what we're trying to do there for the Venendals. And he would have been here tonight, but he just had a baby today, so I'm filling in for him. But the biggest issue is just the fact that the shop is over the height of the residence. We're at that 25-foot marker, and he's on a single-story home, so it makes it almost impossible to build the shop that's adequate size to get his RV and other things in. So that's why we're asking for the conditional use permit.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant while we have him forward? Mr. Catmull?
Let me think about how I'm going to ask this. The name that you were talking about, Viederhall?
Venendal.
Viendal?
I think that's the way I've called him since I've known him.
So, like, is that, are there two households involved? Because you were saying, I don't
No.
understand. You represent your.
Oh, no, I was the designer, so I designed the property.
Okay,
So, sorry,
never
I should have,
mind,
I
okay.
should have said that. So I'm a pool and landscape designer, and as a part of this design, we had the design in the shop, which is on one side, there's a outdoor living kind of structure that comes off the side of the shop
Okay.
as well, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Harding, Ms. Halls. Okay, thank you. We'll reserve time after public comment if we have any questions.
Okay, thanks.
At this portion of the meeting, we're going to open it up to the general public. So any member of the general public who is present in the council chambers is free to come forward to the microphone, give us your name and address for the public record, and you have up to 3 minutes to give any additional testimony. Again, we will not be directly answering any questions. We'll be taking down notes, and we'll answer them after public comments are over.
So I'm Curtis Evans, and I live on the end of that private street as you were talking about. So part of my property is in the front yard, and then I have
Can you just
the,
give us the actual address so for the record?
11721 South, 1220 West.
Thank you.
And he's just wanting to build. He's approached us, and we are, as a neighbor, I'm fine with it. We've talked to other neighbors, and they don't have any problems with it. I'm a little bit removed from it as two building lots, but it is what it is. He wants to build on it, and I just saying, as a resident of that street and the little subdivision that it is, I'm in for that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Thank you. Is there anyone else present in the council chambers who would like to give testimony on this item? Once I close public comments, that's it. So I'm gonna 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna close the public comment, bring it back to the commission for discussion leading to possible motion. And we do want to thank all those in attendance this evening. It helps us with our process when we do have residents and the applicants present. So thank you all for being here this evening and helping us in this process. I guess I'll just go. I don't think it's an exceptional variance between the single-story home and a 25-foot max, and they have the setbacks, and it looks like there's no windows looking over the adjoining property, and I mean the use seems appropriate for the building as well. So those are my thoughts. Anybody else want to?
I had one question for clarification. I think I know the answer. Is it the interior ADU that has the 1,500 square foot or 30% of the main dwelling limit?
Right.
Okay.
That's where the limit would apply. They didn't provide any indication that any part of this structure would be used as an ADU, but if they wanted to in the future, their property size and zones allow them to have a detached ADU.
Okay, but this would be larger than an ADU would allow.
Actually, the ADU for an external ADU the maximum is 1,500 square feet, period.
Period, okay.
And then internal ADUs, there's no limit. The state has said you cannot base it on the size of the home or anything like that. They can have everything, but they can have the entire basement done or have 2 floors done, have another floor. They can only have one ADU on the property, period, though.
Okay.
But if it were, it's not part of the condition, the application this evening, but if they were to apply for an ADU and wanting to get more than the 1,500 feet, that's what would come back to us for an exception. Anything else would be done administratively by the city staff, correct?
For the size of the external one, to go larger than the 1,500, that can come to you.
So to clarify, this is smaller than the footprint is smaller than the primary residence, it's just the height. But what was the primary residence maximum height?
The maximum height, I don't believe it was given in the application. So looking at the street view of it, it looked like, assuming that the garage height was 7 feet tall, then the estimated height of the home was between 16 and 18 feet. Perhaps the applicant has a more definite answer. So in any case, it's still far shorter in height than the proposed garage.
I didn't have a chance to look, but the application summary says that the house is smaller than compared to some of the neighboring residential buildings. Am I interpreting that?
That's true.
And the primary residence could be, usually residential is 35 feet max height. So someone, could add at least one more floor to that, and it would be roughly the same height as the garage or the accessory building. So I'm totally fine with it.
Any other discussion? If not, I'm happy to accept the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Harding?
I move that the planning commission approves file number PLCUP 2026-00078, the Vindendal Detached Shop Conditional Use Permit.
I will second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harding, a second by Commissioner Farnsworth. Any discussion to the motion? If not, this will require a roll call vote. So Ms. Valdez, if you could lead us through that, please.
Commissioner Harding? Yes. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yes.
Commissioner Cantwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gedge?
Aye.
And Commissioner Halls?
Yes, and then I wanted to just note that I'm willing in this case to make the exception on the height. I know that that part of our code exists because we want secondary structures to appear secondary. And so the fact that the actual footprint is smaller than the main dwelling is what persuaded me in this particular case.
Great, thank you for making that comment. That motion passes 5 in favor. We wish the applicants success as they continue. And so that concludes our administrative public hearings this evening. We do have Section I, our legislative public hearings, and we do have one item under that. It's very similar process to the administrative public hearings. The difference is we are a recommending body for legislative public hearings. We make a recommendation to the city council, and they will make the final adoption of any items. They can either accept our recommendation, they could change it, ignore it, but that's just the same process, introduction by staff. We will have public comment because the city is the applicant, but I guess they have the right to speak as the applicant as well. And then we'll have general public comment, and then we will lead it back to the commission for a motion. So we have item I1, which is a text amendment to section 16.04.320, water shares required. And the city of South Jordan is the applicant of this, and Mr. Nilsson is actually presenting us this evening. Jeremy, I don't know if I've ever seen you be the presenter.
It's been a while. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm presenting on behalf of my boss, the city engineer, Brad Clavino. So the primary purpose of this text amendment is to clean up the code and bring it into compliance with the latest state law. The state law recently changed, and it now requires water rights exactions to be calculated using equivalent residential connections rather than the acre feet per acre calculation that was being done previously. And then the other change removes an outdated references to non-residential water right exactions, which the city has not been collecting for at least 20 years. So it just kind of brings the code up to date with where it should be for today. Any questions on
Any
this?
questions for staff?
So can you give us just in layman's terms the changes, like how it was before, how it will be now, and how that will affect the general public?
And to add to that, will you tell us which was more conservative in ensuring sufficient water rights?
That's a great question. Those are both great questions. Okay, so to try and explain it in layman terms, the way it was calculated previously when like a residential development came in and say it was a 10 acre lot, for example, a 10 acre subdivision, we would take the 10 acres and we would just multiply that by 2.2 acre feet per acre. And so that would be, in that case, it'd be 22 acre feet. And that's the number of water shares that we would require from the development. So then they would go to a canal company and buy the equivalent number of shares and give those water shares, turn those water shares over to the city. Now, so that's how it was done. But now they require it to be calculated based upon the equivalent residential connection, which is per meter. It's per meter. You know, like if it's townhomes, it's the number of meters, you know, that goes to each townhome. If it's a single family home, then it's, you know, it's one meter. And so it does kind of change that. It does change that calculation a bit. As far as which is more accurate, it's probably more accurate to use the ERCs because that's more true to you know, what the actual demand would be. There's like some really fine cases where you could make arguments either way, but generally we're more comfortable using the ERC calculation anyway, which is in compliance with state law.
And that's the new one?
Yes.
Does it in any way allow you to take into consideration an industrial business, commercial use that would be a high water user? Or is
We-
that under a business application?
For water share collection, we have not been collecting water shares for any non-residential use. We've only been collecting water shares for residential use. And that's been a practice the city has been doing for 20 years. And to be completely honest with you, I don't know where that practice came from, other than that's the way it's been done for a long time. I'm assuming it's to try and promote commercial development in the city.
Do we have any concerns about that practice moving forward?
With recent media events in other
Other
municipalities
counties, yeah.
north of here?
I got some questions on that.
In engineering, it's a practice that the city can choose what direction they want to go, but we're just bringing in line with what we've been directed to do, I guess is the best way to put it.
So I got some questions on that.
Yeah.
It was probably my English teacher who was talking about active voice versus passive voice. And the staff report said the city was informed that our water exaction code is out of compliance. My question is, could you clarify who exactly notified the city? Was this like a state agency, or did this come about because someone is seeking an application or has an application and that's why it came up? Could you clarify for me?
I'm happy to, or Mr. Simonson, is that a question you want to address?
I always try and say nothing.
Sorry, I'm happy to take it.
We periodically have citizens, not just from South Jordan, but from anywhere, that go to the property rights ombudsman. And we had a citizen go to the property rights ombudsman who felt like we had he felt like he shouldn't be have an exaction against him at all. And through a 6-8 month process, the property rights ombudsman came back and said, no, you're assessing it correctly, in proportion with the burden that's being placed on the city. However, under this recent statute, the one, as Jeremy has said, we should be using ERCs rather than acre feet.
Okay, great. And Jeremy, the ERC, is that calculated by the state engineer or Department of Water?
It's
Resources?
defined in that memo that is referenced in the new code, and I forget the exact name. Level of service, the average annual demand per ERC and the current water use level of service memorandum. It's defined in there. In this case, though, for residential use, it's per meter. So you just add up the number of meters that any subdivision would have, and that's the number of ERCs that would be.
I was just thinking, as we've seen more and more ADUs and everything else, we're putting more households on the same meter. And so I just want to make sure that calculation gets updated. Otherwise, we might be packing more density than historically on a single meter. So there's that. This is just a question for me, how do non-residential applicants ensure that they've acquired enough water for their use today? How is that done? Do they all hook up to city water and?
They all hook up, and they're all already covered under Jordan Valley's assessment district, and so the use is already assigned to that block of land. Now, if it's new land that isn't inside of their assessment district, then that is something that would need to be negotiated with Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District as part of the development, and that's what Rio Tinto is going through now, is getting added into their assessment district.
Okay, so there's elements, and probably on site plan, Jordan Water Conservancy District gets a chance to look at site plans for new development. and.
They usually don't go to that level. They're usually just, the city usually just verifies that they're included in the assessment district, and then at that point, the city does the reviews. Jordan Valley isn't really involved at that point, once they're included in the assessment district.
Okay, so does Jordan Valley have do they control basically all water inside South Jordan? For example, the contaminated plume, I think they're involved in the cleanup, the 40 to 100-year cleanup or whatever.
Right.
Do they have exclusive of that, or are they only worried about are they like the containment partner? And if someone wanted to use water that had phosphorus or whatever, I can't remember, sulfate or whatever it was that's in there, but don't need to clean it, can they use water in that plume to cool something, for example?
They would need to, there's a whole process for a new well. Yeah, if they're not just tying into the culinary system, that's a different application. That would involve the state engineer to get a new well. Whether they can use it or not, I don't completely know. It would depend on what water rights they have. But that would be a different application.
Okay. And so how do we know, like from a capacity planning perspective, how do we know that we have enough water? How do we monitor that for the non-commercial, that we have enough water capacity to support the non-commercial or non-residential that comes in? Is that all through Jordan Conservancy District and their basin and whatnot?
Right. We depend upon Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. Really, 90, I don't know exactly the percentage, but more than 90% of the water comes from Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. There are a few like pocket secondary water systems in the city, but the majority of all the water that's in the city is all Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. And so that capacity and that demand is all included in our water master plan that gets updated. I mean, it gets updated about every 5 years to make sure that we have, capacity, and that, that the demand is going down, with our conservation efforts and those kind of things.
Okay, great. I think last question from me. I'm sorry for monopolizing several of them. Hopefully they were related enough. This one is, what would trigger these new water requirements? So we have for residential uses. So we have people that were, when they developed on the acre feet per acre. Is there any type of development on redevelopment that would trigger them having to reassess their water rights on this new formula?
If they submit a new application to the city for like a residential development, like a SRD, single residential development, or a subdivision or something like that, that would trigger this water share.
Okay.
Them contributing these, or the city exacting these water shares from the development.
Would that include like a lot line adjustment, or a new subdivision?
The only, as I recall, it's only new subdivisions and SRDs. I'm not aware of any lot line adjustment that's required water shares.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine one. Just asking, it's my.
Yeah.
It's my other.
No, that's a good question. I've not come across that and not thought of that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Farnsworth, anything else? Ms. Harding?
So you've referred to it a couple of times, so this has nothing to do with secondary water with a new development, if that's correct?
It does, in that it's just water. It's all water that we're talking about. So this is the water shares that come from a canal company. Those water shares may be applied to a secondary water system inside the development. So it may go directly towards that development, or it may go towards other water uses, in the future, possibly even reuse in the future for the city.
So in my area, we have city water and secondary. Would that require 2 shares for those lots? Or how does that work when there is secondary water?
It would be the same calculation in your area as it would everywhere else in the city, which would be the, based on ERCs, the number of ERCs that the new development is proposing, then that depending upon the number of ERCs, that's how many water shares they would contribute, which currently, based upon that memo, it's half an acre foot per water connection is the way you'd calculate it. So however many number of meters there are, you'd multiply that by 0.5, and that would give you the number of the acre feet that they would need to contribute to the system.
And I'm just trying to picture this, or case before, there was this outbuilding, and so is that gonna be under the original water meter? Or because it's a second building and has a possibility of being an ADU, would that be a second meter? Would that then require that homeowner to go buy a water share in order to build on their property? Do you understand what I was just kind of piggybacking a little bit to have a better understanding of how this changes with just development in the city, or how does that work?
I'm not aware of us collecting water shares for accessory dwelling units. It's only been the SRDs and any new development subdivisions. I'm not aware, I'd have to double check the code, but I'm not aware of any requirements for ADUs.
Well, for ADUs, they're not allowed to have a separate meter, so they have to run on the same meter as the houses. Yeah.
But in the secondary water, for example, I've lived there 20+ years, I don't have a pump, but the city showed us where we could put a pump. But I'm sure when it was developed, because I'd be in charge for it, there's secondary water. So should the developer have been charged for the city meter and the secondary meter? That's what I was trying to get at, for each of the lots going forward now, if there's secondary water. The pump or meter for that secondary water.
I'm not sure in that specific case. I would need to look into that. This code change just applies to the water shares, the certificate that we get from the Water Canal Company that gives the water rights to the city. But as far as like the system improvements, who pays for the meter, the pumps, those kind of things, that's pretty specific per development. And so I'm not certain in that specific case.
Where before they weren't then, because it's just based on acreage depending upon, not by how many meters.
Right. This will change the calculation. Before it was based on the number of acres, and now it will just be based on the number of meters. That's right.
My final question is, Daybreak also under the same mandate? So if they have 7 units up, are they getting charged, expect water for all of the units? How does that affect Daybreak?
Or did they already acquire all their water rights?
I would need to double check the development agreement. Per the code, yes, they would be required to, but there may be something in the I want to say there's something in the development agreement where they've done something different. But I would have to double check that. But yes, per the code, the way the code's written, they would be required, but I'm guessing there's something in the development agreement that addresses that.
And I think those development agreements are basically locked, and we put copies of the code as it was when it was signed. And it references as it was signed and or overridden.
And any new state law does not, they're basically grandfathered.
Yeah.
Mr. Simonson can correct me on that, but the development agreement is locked into the day when it's executed, unless there's an amendment at that point.
Something like that.
Okay, anything else for staff at this point?
I do have one more. So, non-residential, we no longer have, before it was like we have residential and non-residential. Now we have nothing under water rights or water property rights in non-residential. I guess, do we have enough? They're just superseded by state law? And that's what gets applied? Or do we have anywhere else in the code that says, hey, these are the requirements and how you meet them going forward? I guess, is this going to leave a hole? or is it clear to people who are looking at our code and potential developers and so forth, that there are still requirements and here's how they're met?
There's no water share. If with this revision, there's no water share requirements for non-residential, for any non-residential development.
From the city's perspective, if they hook up to city water, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, as part of the development, we would not be requiring water shares with any non-residential development.
Okay, so like on Kennecott, I mean, I haven't seen or Daybreak 2.0 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
What if that doesn't end up being houses and it became a data center with natural gas generators and all that?
Mm-hmm.
How would that water be procured in the eyes of the city?
It need to be procured through Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District because we're a distributor. We don't have a water source that they could tap into. So if it's not included in the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District Assessment District, then it would need to be negotiated, with Jordan Valley to get that water. So these water shares really, what they do is they give the city a chunk of water that they own, and it gives us negotiation power. It gives us flexibility in the future to use water reuse, other things that can be our actual own source of water, whereas right now we're 100% dependent upon Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. That's kind of the way these water shares, how they can be used.
And when it's cleaned up, when the the contaminated plumes are cleaned up, will the city kind of become more like Riverton and others, where we just have our own wells and we're not restricted from using the plume water, and we can just use the subsurface or whatever it is, water, not the groundwater, but the non-ground water?
We'd have to go through the state, and we'd have to make sure that we have water rights to do that. Right now, Jordan Valley has those water rights. I know we have some water rights to, the groundwater underneath. But yeah, there would, I don't know for sure if we can do that because we don't have any wells at this point. There'd be a whole process to be able to accomplish that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
At this point, same as the previous item, under administrative, we're gonna open this portion of the meeting to the general public. Any member of the general public who is present in the council chambers who would like to give testimony on this item, please come towards the microphone, give us your name and address for the public record, and you have up to 3 minutes. The time is now yours. Public comment is open. Any members of staff are technically members of the public. All right, seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion leading to a possible motion for a recommendation to the city council. So I think we're tied by new state law to update our city code for new developments. From what I've understood is anything existing is good to go. It's just anything new as described by Jeremy, but so I'm fine forwarding a recommendation.
But there's still a lot of questions, so I think it would behoove us to not just go with the code, but also review things, but that's not our place. But I would recommend it to city council to get us in alignment.
I would as well. I'll ditto that. I mean, there have been previous years where the city of Lehigh has, said no more building allowed, we're out of water, and then we still have to water on this cycle. And I know we're all facing that this year, but I think good stewardship makes use of opportunities like this where we want to review and make sure that we're allocating water appropriately as we bring in new uses into our city. So
both commercial and residential. I think we need to really address the non-residential.
I do as well.
Even though it's been 20 plus years, that probably needs to
Especially with new uses that are water hungry.
Right, and to the point that if every time we do it, we get something we own and we're not relying on Jordan Valley, right? In my mind, it just makes sense that we.
Yeah, the more and more shares the city owns of Jordan Valley, it protects long term. Anything on this side?
I was just gonna say, I really appreciated the discussion on water and the good questions asked by my fellow planning commissioners. I know it's a topic on everyone's mind, so thank you.
I would love to see, on non-residential site plans, just make sure that that's kind of a required element in our packet to say, where's this water coming from? You know, because that's one of our functions is a QA thing. And the other thing I was thinking about proposing on a potential motion was basically voting that we recommend approval and put a condition that we get basically like an education session that we might be able to use for training on this type of matter. How does water impact future planning and development as we think about, it's in the general plan, we need to be well-versed in the general plan because we're going to update the general plan and all that, and then just make that a condition, not, the condition would be to activate the staff to schedule that and then decide if it can also be used for training, some of our training hours or something like that.
I don't know if we need a condition, but just a recommendation to staff, since they are the ones that just develop our training, we tell them what we want to be trained on.
I only say that because I had a conversation with someone and they said, you need to make a motion if the commission wants staff to do something, then the commission needs to take a specific action, whether it's a voice vote or whatever, to.
So should we do that separate of this recommendation to city council?
We can, like, we could put
Yeah.
it on the next agenda item, or a non-agenda item next time.
I like pairing them though, so that city council sees it.
Okay.
I think it would hopefully help them draw
I'm-
notice
I'm-
that
I'm
we've
fine
got this
either way.
request. Yeah.
I just, don't want comments maybe from a member of city council or two saying that we're trying to direct the city council.
I think we are. We're asking them to, and we're not telling them what to do, but we're just
I-
flagging this as something that we think is important.
And I just want to understand, and I want to understand how it affects the planning and development going forward and make sure that we're clear, because water is one of the most has been one of the most contentious issues over centuries. People kill over water rights. We've seen that, and not saying that's going to happen here, but it's an important topic. But anyway.
Can I interject something?
Oh, yeah.
With respect to the possibility of adding onto the reports about where the water for particular development coming from, I personally don't think that's necessary because there's only one place for residential development that it can come from. It can only come from the Jordan Valley Water District. And so the exaction in virtually every case is to have them bring in an equivalent amount of water to what the burden is being created on the city, but it's creating a reserve of water that is actually owned by the city, but is not being used to supply that particular development. Does that make sense?
Were you talking residential or non-residential?
Well, non-residential, if this gets enacted, and by practice what we've done the last 20 years, has not been an issue because there's been no exactions required on non-residential. And the non-residential, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to be hooking up to Jordan Valley Water District water. It's the only place you can come from. Now, if there's something, as Mr. Nelson referred to, dramatically different from that, where there's going to need to be wells and so forth, then there's going to be a whole separate process for that, and the Planning Commission and the City Council and the media and everybody else is going to be made aware, well aware of that kind of situation.
I guess what I'm concerned about, I just want to make sure that we have eyes on there, because I guess a lot of times we will say, that all city code and ordinances are being met, but it's clear that under this particular ordinance, we weren't exacting shares. It was on the books for 20 years and we weren't doing that. How do we know that, how do we have confidence now that, how do we regain confidence that we're doing what we're saying we're doing in that area?
It's been a few days since I've read what the ordinance currently says with respect to non-residential, but my recollection is the language makes it optional for the city to collect or not collect. And so the practice has been for the last 20 years to not collect. And what is being proposed in the ordinance tonight is to take out the reference that they can collect just because it's basically a misnomer because we're not doing it.
But it's optional. Okay, all right. I guess I'm good for now.
Okay, any other discussion before a motion? We can, if you wanted to throw someone out there, how you want to do it, then we can vote on that way. Or someone else wants to go, so.
I can give the motion, then we can add the request for training separately. Are you okay with that, or?
That would be fine.
Okay,
Let's do that because I probably don't have the exact wording. I have something else about the application number.
okay. I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the City Council of Ordinance 2026-15, text amendment to section 16.04.320, water shares required.
And I will second that. We have a motion by Commissioner Harding, a second by Commissioner Getch. Discussion to the motion.
I would like to offer an amendment to that motion. I would like to further move that we schedule a planning commission item within the next 90 days with the purpose of this study session is to generally understand how water availability and current city and state water rights requirements will constrain and shape future city development. This would encompass both new development and redevelopment, residential and non-residential. As part of this broader, okay, I'll just leave it at that. Wait, no. As part of this broader discussion, we request that staff specifically highlight how our planning and zoning codes would handle the water demands of emerging highly water-intensive uses such as data centers and advanced energy facilities.
Would you be open to making that 120 days so that we're pushing into September? I just worry about summer.
I am open to any number of days. I just want to put it on the books.
And then the other, just the word study session, that kind of brings up, it's a separate meeting, that it would not be, it's currently calendared, and our calendar has to be approved by the city council.
If I said study session, I misspoke because I was trying to say just an item.
Okay, thank you, yes. Not, you said study session, so yeah.
Sorry.
If you would accept item.
Item works.
Okay. And 120 days by Commissioner Hall, so you find with those two friendly amendments to your amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so just so I could try to do Robert's Rules in order. So first, Commissioner Harding, do you accept the amendment to your original motion?
I accept the amendment with the one slight change to 120 days as opposed to 90 days.
Okay, and since I second it, I will second that. Okay, so now, any further discussion to the motion on the recommendation to the council plus with Commissioner Catmull's amendment to that? Any further discussion to the motion?
No.
Okay, I think we're good for a roll call vote. Ms. Valdez, please.
Commissioner Harding?
Yes.
Commissioner Getch?
Aye.
Commissioner Catmull?
Yes.
Commissioner Parker?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5 in favor of a positive recommendation to the city council of this text amendment that was presented to us this evening, and also with an amendment that within the next 120 days, an item will be placed to our planning commission as Commissioner Catmull described. Clear as mud? Okay, good. That concludes our legislative public hearing items this evening. Take us to section J, our other business. Any other business that anyone would like to raise this evening? Looking around, Mr. Schindler, Mr. Priest, how does our first meeting in June actually?
And there's nothing on the agenda at this moment, so I doubt we're gonna have a meeting in the first part of June anyway.
So when you are logging in to complete your city required training, check your city email to see if
Yeah.
there's a meeting cancellation.
Okay, and that was, my question, is that the only thing, is the know before training? There's not other things I might be missing?
I think it's just the know before.
Awesome, thank you.
One just other tip on that, so if you guys do see suspicious email in your city email account, you can report that as spam. They are collecting points for people who are reporting their phishing attacks. So just FYI as a
I've
heads
had
up.
a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't accidentally click on them, or I don't know if they sign you up for more additional training.
That's true.
All right, Matt or Jeremy, I'm gonna look at, sorry, I didn't look at you. Anything else? Jeremy, thank you for presenting. We gotta get it more often. I think, with Mr. Catmull's amendment that, we should have specifically put you for the water stuff. Okay, anything else from anyone? Okay, if not, I will move to adjourn. Second?
I'll
We're-
second.
we're adjourned.